Ready? 1, 2, 3.
It's a great day at Girl Please.
Rock hard cock chats.
Welcome to iHip News. Pumps is wearing our I've Had It merch available in our store. I think we have a YouTube store. We have a website store. We have a link in bio. Is it a YouTube shelf? Is that what the kids call it?
Yes.
YouTube shelf.
I'm impressed you knew that. I mean, just can't
Still
get a thing
traps over
past
here.
you.
Yeah. And just to remind everyone, we have a podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays and a Patreon chock full of hard-hitting content where we laugh and make fools of ourselves quite frequently. Pumps has prepared the news for us today, and it is regarding the Alabama IVF.
Yes, I think that this is a really important topic, dealing with infertility, reproductive rights, and what a child is and is not. And first, for your review, is the Supreme Court ruling from Alabama, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Tom Parker. And he says this with a straight face. Even before birth, all humans bear the image of God. Shut the fuck up. I mean, why would you put that in a court document? It's like separation of church of state. He's never heard of it.
Well, and that's just not based on fact.
No.
The facts on the ground are that we have hundreds, if not thousands of, fossils that show how our species evolved. So this is not even true.
No. It's totally blind theocracy. And then he talks about God's effacing his glory, which just makes me gag. Because I'm like, what if your God is different than this man's God? Or you don't have a God? What about the different spiritualities that don't come from the Bible? Diminishes them. I mean, it's just complete. And to everything I learned in law school, this is the exact opposite.
I think this is reminiscent of mental illness. I'm not kidding.
No, I know.
I'm dead serious. I think that somebody who believes this and puts this into a document that affects all other people, there is a pathology to that I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm certain that one could make a case that this is full-blown mental illness. Further, as we start to study psychology and psychiatry more and more, we're getting more and more into it over the last 75 years or more. I think that there are millions of people in this country that suffer from religious addiction, much like alcoholism, drug addiction, eating disorders. I think that this is a disorder that needs treatment.
I can't disagree. There are certainly facts to support that. So you have this ruling, which then Alabama immediately, two of the infertility clinics, they don't know what to do, because basically this ruling says that a child in a test tube or incubator that's frozen waiting for implantation has all the same protections as a child that is born and alive.
Isn't this smaller than a millimeter?
I think
it's a frozen.
I think it's microscopic. I mean, it's
right.
just, you can't see it. So, I mean, the irony for me is we want to protect this cell collection, but yet when the child's born, we don't want to give it food, housing, healthcare, none of those things. But we want to give it all the protections in the world when it's in a test tube. So that
let me tell you what people in red states, because we live in a red state like Alabama, and our governor, Kevin Stitt, who I like to refer to as Governor Limp Dick, he was offered hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government to supplement meals for children in the summer. 1 in 5 Oklahoma children suffer from food insecurity. And Governor Limp Dick said, we don't want the federal government's money. We don't need Biden's money. Well, I have news for him. I don't know about you, but when I pay my tax bill, my federal government bill far supersedes what my state government payout is. So as a resident of this state that actually cares about children, take the money because your citizens have paid it in.
Right.
And he doesn't, he's the one that prayed and dedicated every square inch of the state to Jesus Christ. And then when he has an opportunity to help children, living, breathing, food insecure children, he plays politics with it. And so just time and time and time again, what I see from this far right-wing, religious, addicted, delusionally, mentally ill, white male leaders is they don't give a shit about kids.
No.
They want to control a woman's uterus.
Absolutely. And I do like the new catchphrase, Governor Limp Dick. That's good stuff.
Yeah, Governor Limp Dick.
And then we have the ever disappointing Nikki Haley, who not only wants to ban abortion at the time of conception in her state, where she was former governor, she actually says out loud that she believes a frozen embryo is a baby. Now, this is a woman that used artificial insemination, which is not quite the same as IVF, but similar scientific help with getting pregnant. She actually agrees an embryo is a baby and deserves all the protection. So that just is it further confirms that she has no business in leadership, in my opinion. Then moving on to the maybe one of the dumbest people on planet Earth. This is Senator Tommy Tuberville from the great state of Alabama, who, I just want to remind everyone, coached football at Auburn and got run out because he was not a good coach. So now, of course, where else would you go when you get fired as a football coach? You're a senator. So this is what this dumb fuck says.
Supreme Court ruling on the fact that embryos are children?
Yeah, I was all for it. We need to have more kids. We need to have an opportunity to do that. And I thought this was the right thing to do. But
IVF is used to have more children, and right now IVF services are paused at some of the clinics in Alabama. Aren't you concerned that this could impact people who are trying to have kids?
Well, that's for another conversation. People need to have. We need more kids. We need the people to have the opportunity to have kids.
That's just the biggest circle jerk I've ever heard.
It totally is.
He goes from, we need more kids, we need more babies, to, I believe in the Supreme Court's decision, which the Supreme Court's decision paused in vitro fertilization in his state. So he's Senator Dumbfuck. There's just zero doubt about that. And then lastly, we have all these Republicans, including Donald Trump, who's the biggest hypocrite on the planet. But his minions are all going out saying, oh, we didn't intend to cause any of this problem with IVF, which is bullshit because they've, as you've mentioned many times, they're playing the long game on pro-life. So then they introduce a federal law that would protect IVF. And guess what? Guess who blocked that from becoming law?
Let me take a wild stab at it.
Wild stab.
A Republican.
Yes. And here it is in real time.
That the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions be discharged from further consideration of S. 3612 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. Further, that the bill be read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object.
The senator from Mississippi.
And again, another red state senator that's so pro-life that they have piss poor education systems, piss poor social safety nets, piss poor records on protecting human rights, and she's blocking the ability for a federal law to pass to protect in vitro fertilization and other reproductive assistance through science. So this is just yet another flaming example of hypocrisy and infringement on people's rights and big government. I mean, Republican and big government, synonymous.
Well, if we look at the facts regarding the Republican Party and their alleged affection and advocacy for children, we can very quickly dismantle it. Number one, they do not give a shit about guns.
Correct.
And the number one cause of death for a child in the United States of America is not car wrecks, it is not cancer, it is not disease, it is guns. They have never said anything other than thoughts and prayers regarding that mortality among American children. Number two, If they gave a shit about quality of life in kids, they would raise the minimum wage. They would be advocating for this. Number 3, if they gave a shit about children, they wouldn't have separated them from their families at the border. These Christians who are supposed to care about the needy, support refugees. And I'll remind them their Lord and personal Savior was himself a refugee of brown skin. They celebrated the separation, which is going to cause generational trauma of these kids. They do not fund after-school programs. They do not help fund childcare. They do not fund health care. So here's what being born poor for among these pro-life red state big government Republicans means. You get raped, tough titties, you're going to have your baby. You're 16 and you can't work because you got to go to school, tough titties, we're not helping you. Oh, your kid gets leukemia? Oh, that's too bad. They don't give a shit. And so this whole narrative that it's even being entertained, that they give a flying fuck about life when we are one of the only countries in the developing world that denies its citizens the basic right to health care, is nothing short of breathtaking, cruel, sadistic hypocrisy. And I've absolutely had it. Their ideology is totally bunk. I cannot believe that people listen to what these morons and religiously addicted people have to say. Their mega churches are complicit in all of this. They go along with making it's all about your personal relationship. It just encourages all this distorted narcissism. The idea that nobody can critique their religion gives them this shield so that they can then weaponize their religion. I've had it. I've had it. I've had it. America got all of these Puritans, and Puritan culture has done nothing but hurt its citizens.
I could not agree more. I think that was very well said. Mic drop.
Stick to iHip News for more hot takes.
More hot takes.
On Girl Please. Go buy our merch and join us on Patreon. Pumps tell 'em.
We will see you when we feel like it.